clear article or argument that was coming out. So even though the topic was interesting, the implications were where I got lost. So, just keep that in mind, that you need to have a logical flow, especially with this speech, just because you're using, communication theories as well. You need to always focus on the communicative aspects of the artifact rather than, it being unique. If it's unique, that's great. It gives you something, you stand out in the round, so it gives you, slightly more, presence in front of the judge. But you don't want the entirety of your speech to be about, well, my artifact is this interesting. It needs to be about what it's communicating, how it's being communicated, and whether or not it's effective, or it's, effective in the way that the people who created that artifact, wanted it to be. So basically, let me just briefly go over the structure here. So, like all platform addresses, you have your intro. Basically, what the intro is going to consist of is an attention-getting device. You can talk about the topic that you're going to address. You can bring a historical anecdote that is relevant as your AGD. You want to aspire to have something that does get the attention of the people in your room. So that's what you want it to be, and you want it to link to what your topic's going to be about, because you don't want to spend the majority of your intro trying to link it by like 5 different steps. So, intro, we have the AGD. And then, you actually want to address, the overall topic itself. You want to bring that into the phone. And this is where we're going to go to Little Mosque on the Prairie. So, for instance, for my speech, there was a small town in Canada, I believe in the province of Quebec, that basically had passed laws that said women are allowed to drive, vote, dance, write checks, dress as they want, work, and own property. It was part of their declaration of norms, because they didn't want any immigrants coming into their town and changing, the norms that they believed had been part of their society, because they were afraid that, immigrants from other countries, i.e., immigrants from, Muslim countries, or who were Muslim, would end up changing their culture in a negative way. The citizens of this small Canadian town thought. So that was the AGD, and then the transition was into the actual the show itself. So it had the AGD, which can have a source. It's up to you. If you're using something like a town, then yes. But if you're using a historical example, not necessary. Then you want to actually introduce the topic at hand. And at any point, any of you guys have questions, since we're a small group, just feel free to raise your hand, and I'll try to answer to the best of my abilities. So you want to give a little background about, for instance, for the show, talk about what the creator, why she wanted this show to go on the air, and quickly address its level of early success, and why she wanted the show to be successful was because it's a sitcom, not a political satire that would dispel stereotypes and prejudices about Islam that had festered since September 11th, 2001. That statement of purpose leads into the research question, which in this case was, can a television show alter the public's perception of an identity? It doesn't have to be, this groundbreaking question. It doesn't have to be, steeped in communication theory. It could be a very straightforward question that addresses the goal of the campaign or the book. And then what you do after you have the research question, you have the preview. And in this case, is this too low? You guys can see all this? All right, cool. In this case, for the preview, when you address the tenets that come from the communication article that you're using. So for this instance, I was addressing the rhetoric of multiculturalism. But then your second one is to apply this rhetoric to the artifact that you're using before finally looking at the lessons for the audience. So what you want to do first is, the actual article, then the artifact. And when you're looking at the artifact, what you want to do is take the tenets, which are the main points of that communication article, and put it into the artifact, and then look at the lessons. Any questions so far? Okay, cool. You guys are good. All right. So then what you do is you give a brief, your next paragraph is going to be a description of the article that you're using. You give a little background, you say who the author is, the title of it, where it was published. All of these have to be stated because this impacts the credibility of your speech. You name the full, you need to know the full title of the article, the author's name, when it was published, as well as in what journal. If there's any question about whether or not, if you flub over the title, it's going to hurt your credibility. So just be 100% sure on that, and then give a brief explanation of, what the article entails. For instance, my explanation was, the essay explores how after apartheid, sitcoms and soap operas have addressed issues of multiculturalism in 3 rhetorical stages. Now this preview is previewing your tenets, and that's what your first point is going to be about. You have the tenets.